Hey beautiful people, this is Annika with Ask Annika, and as you know, I like to talk about how to go about things in life in a healthy, positive, progressive way to reach your passions and your goals. And today I want to talk about mental health. As some of you know, I went to rehab 4 years ago. I was in a pretty dark place, depression. I was going through suicidal thinking. I was using every day. I was drinking every day. I was in a pretty bad situation. I married my coke dealer, and that was an abusive relationship, yada, yada, yada. And you can kind of fill in the gaps as to how bad it is. And if you're going through something like that, you know how it is, and you know how it is very entrapping, especially when you're in that situation. I felt like there was no way out. I felt like it was like darkness, and there was no other option. I'm here to tell you that there are other options and there are ways out, and I'm going to tell you how I got out of the situation that I was in. I was living in another country, and not in the US, meaning I was living in Taiwan, and I was in a bad marriage. I was using every day. I was drinking every day. I was very functional within doing that, truly. When I look back on it, I was still holding a job. I was making six figures at that time, still able to function within that. I was depressed. I was manic. I was using certain things that just were completely messing up my stuff, but I couldn't stop. It's like I wanted to stop, but I couldn't stop. And that's exactly what addiction is. And for those of you who view it as a bad thing, on the other side of the railroad tracks, it's actually a really amazing, beautiful thing, because once I started to learn that I can take my energy and hone it into other things, I really hone in and focus very well, and it's very natural to me to hyper focus on things and really get involved in them, just like it was for me for using or drinking or toxic relationships or making bad decisions. It's just recalibrating my mind. That was the hard part, and realizing that the truth of my past isn't the only truth. I can rewrite the narrative. I can move forward and recreate my perspective to create different outcomes and to actually live a completely different life. And when I was using and when I first got clean, I literally thought that people were crazy. I didn't believe that there were such things as people who don't lie. I didn't think that there were such things as people who didn't just seek for themselves. I was like, this is completely batshit nuts. And I was like, there's just no way, especially within the line of work that I was doing. I was doing things that were not a bad line of work, but how I was going about doing what I was doing was very manipulative, backwards, and I just didn't believe that there was a way to live life and do all the things that I thought people wanted to do. I was traveling, I had any brand that I wanted, like I was just young, making good money, and just kind of doing whatever I wanted every day, and I liked it, but at the same time, I hated it. It was like I thought I was doing all the things that I thought people always wanted to do in their life, so I was like, well, why aren't I happy? Like, I can't force myself into being happy. It's on the inside, and I hated that saying, but it is so true. And for me, it was hard to take anyone else's advice, because in my head I thought I was an expert at life because of the things I was able to accomplish, but truth be told, I was an expert at getting myself in situations where I was trapped and I hated my life. And I was an expert at lying, and I was an expert at being manipulative, which only leads to an unhappy life, for me at least, and using and drinking because I couldn't live with myself. So I really had to come to a place of, I have a problem. I don't want to live this way anymore, and I don't know what to do about it. I need help. Like, I needed help, and I had to trust that someone else could actually help me. So when I was in Taiwan, my husband at the time wouldn't let me leave, didn't want me to leave. He took my passports, he took my ARC, and I was using, so it made it harder for me to even make the decision to like go and change, right? Because that's all I ever knew from my childhood, from my middle adult, my like late teens, early adulthood, like my whole life, that's all I knew was the fast drug using, athletic life. Like, I was an athlete, I was also using all the time. I was partying, and it was money, drugs, and all that, rock and roll, and that's what I knew, and that's what I was used to. So anything outside of that didn't really make much sense to me. Like, what do you mean? Like, today I enjoy sitting in on the weekend? Like, I thoroughly enjoy. And like, say that to me 6 years ago, I'd be like, I wouldn't even comprehend it. But I was so unhappy. I needed a change, and now I like enjoy that time with people who I actually build healthy relationships with and love. I was in Taiwan and I looked up rehabs, and at first I was Googling, and I have a picture of this on one of my phones. If I can find it, I'll post a picture because it's kind of funny, to me at least looking back, where I literally had 2 laptops out. I had my phone, I had a glass of wine in a cup, like a cup of wine, and I had a wine glass full of warm Johnny Walker, and I had some other stuff, and it's on the table, and I'm literally Googling, what is wrong with me? Like, why do I feel this way? Why am I like this? Why does this keep happening? What is this cycle? Like, what the and it kept coming up: addiction, depression, anxiety, addiction, addict, addiction. And I just kept thinking, like, I've seen addicts. Like, I'm not an addict. I just kept thinking that, like, you know, people in my family are addicts. Like, I just kept thinking, like, I'm not that. Like, that's not where I'm at. But when it comes down to it, I wasn't happy with my life. And I was using every day. Like, without using, things weren't normal. That is not good, probably. At least for me, it's not good. And I had to literally make the choice. And because it was hard for me to get out of the situation, I had to literally say to my then husband, I need to get fixed so that we can continue our marriage, because we were both using buddies. And it was completely sick and messed up in so many ways. So I told him I needed to go and get help, and I said I need to just go and like recap and come back. And I literally actually thought that was kind of true. Like, I thought that too. Like, because that's all I knew. So I kind of thought that too. In fact, I think I mostly thought that too. I didn't realize where this was going to lead me. So I literally looked up rehabs, and I ended up choosing one in Lantana, Florida, called Lucida. And I went there for 11 days, and within those 11 days, literally within the first like 4 or 5 days, I realized that this is much more than just an 11-day fix. And I'm like, I have to like give up my reality if I want to create a new one. Like, I have to give up everything I know and jump. And it was scary because I didn't know what I was jumping to, because that's all I ever knew. And I get that feeling where nothing else like makes sense, and you're jumping to something but you don't know exactly what you're jumping to, and that is so scary. It feels like the ground is gonna break, and it felt like I was nothing. It felt like I had nothing. It felt like I was nothing. It felt like I had no value. I was empty, and I didn't know what I was going to go to. I didn't know what I was doing. And when I was there, I extended my stay then to 2 weeks from 11 days, and I told my then husband I needed to stay longer. And the longer I stayed, the more I realized I can't go back to Taiwan. And 2 weeks extended to a month extended to 2 months, 2 months extended to 3 months, and it just kept extending. And I stayed there for nearly 6 months. And by the end of those 6 months, I expressed to my then husband, if he is willing to see what's going on with me and make healthy changes out of living a life of trying to control everyone around and living just an unhealthy life of running away from the things that I needed to heal, that if I went back to him would have been unhealthy for me. I knew I was either having to leave him or he was going to have to see a new light, and he didn't want to, and I don't blame him. I'm not mad at him for that. Everyone is on their own path, and for me, I knew I had to want my own life more than I want him. And I started to learn that I needed to love me more, a lot more. And instead of putting validation putting my own validation in other people, I had to really just learn, like, I am enough. Like, just me and nothing. Just me. And that's okay. Like, that's more than okay. Like, that's great okay. And it takes time. Like, time takes time. And it brought me to a place of really enjoying life again. And I started laughing at things that I didn't laugh at since I was literally like, before so many things happened. And I started seeing how things from my childhood or my late teen years formed my views on certain things of what I thought was right and what I thought I actually wanted. And they weren't what I wanted, and they didn't feel right. And I started to develop new perspectives. And it led me to a place of wanting to grow that more, wanting to see that part of me more. And in a really odd way, when I look back, I'm so extremely grateful that I had an addiction problem, and still do, because I'm not cured. It's that part of me is still there. I still have an addictive personality. I still have character flaws. But if I didn't have them to the point of having an addiction problem with substances to escape who I am, I don't think I would have ever changed my life so much to the point where I am truly feeding my life's purpose every day and building companies, which I like to call just growing my passion, to help other people and to help the earth. I don't think I would have ever done that if I didn't have such a horrible problem. So if you are out there and you're thinking you're in a bad situation, or something has happened and you can't stop crying, or you can't even cry because you're just numb to it all and you're silent, there's another side to that railroad track. There's a whole nother life. And it's your authentic life, and it's there, waiting for you to plant little seeds to grow that life. And it doesn't happen fast. And enjoy the process, because if you're already on your way there, then you're already on your way there. So enjoy the ride there. Not saying it's going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And I mean that in a way that it's actually fun. Like, once I started to realize that breaking down traumas and breaking down things that I was ashamed of, and being open about things that I was ashamed of, and talking with other people about things that I didn't want to admit, or I didn't want to even look at, how much that relates to so many people, I started to see that this is actually fun, because it's healing me. And more people than I thought understand this, and more people than I thought truly connect. People that aren't even in AA or NA or any of the A's, just people in general, And sometimes it takes getting to that very, very low point to say, I need to change, or I need to step into my authentic self, who I truly am. And sometimes you don't need to hit that rock bottom. Now I'm at a point, like, if I see something, I'm like, I don't need to hit rock bottom with that. Like, I don't need to see the signs that I need to kind of alter this. Like, and it can be in anything. It can be in anything. If you see something going a certain way, you don't have to let it get to the point where you're suicidal. You don't have to let it get to the point where you're broke, in a messed up abusive relationship, using every day, depressed. You don't have to let it get to that. You can stop, look at yourself and say, who am I really? And you can start to plant seeds for that life right now, today, and every day moving forward.